Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. It is not easy, as I've said to my friends in this August Assembly, to be able to stand up and address the nation and take part in this debate after listening to every person speak, the more so after having listened to the excellent speech of Honorable Minister Bhagwan. But allow me to say that when the budget speech was pronounced before this August Assembly, I was not in Mauritius. I was in Saudi Arabia. And there, I was there for the Hajj and also to supervise the whole process and to meet certain officials. And from there, I sent a message to the Honorable Prime Minister that on the eve of this budget speech, that I would pray that he is infused with everything that is required in order to think about the country first. I've heard many speak today and on other days during this budget debate about what are the qualities of a statesman. I have also given some thought to it. I was listening very carefully to the words pronounced by the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, reading the budget speech. And there's one thing that came to my mind, and let me share it with you today. You see, a statesman, he exactly knows where he wants to take the country, from where it is to where he wants to take it. This is a statesman. The passage and the road to where he wants to take it will be fraught with difficulty. True. But this will not in any way stop him from taking it there. The only thing which I'd like to underline here is that it is someone who is going to take the country from the current state to the future state. And this is what the Honorable Prime Minister, Minister of Finance has done. It takes a lot of courage to be able to present a budget of this nature. A lot of courage. A politician, as others have said before me, he thinks about the next election. I've heard Honorable Rukni say it. Some have quoted General de Gaulle. But in this particular instance, we are here listening to the people outside. We are aware of the difficulties that people are facing. We hear their cry, their fear, their frustration. We hear it, we feel it. But let me from the very outset say, we did not cause this crisis. We are not the ones that caused the mess. We are not the ones that caused the country to be placed in a situation where we are so indebted that we have to face reality, and we are here only to sort out the mess. This is what we're here for. We are here, we have two choices. Either we do nothing and we pretend all is good, all is rosy, and we think only about our own political survival and nothing else, pleasing people. The other choice is think about the country. Think and do for the country. Don't think about yourself. That is precisely what the Honorable Prime Minister, Minister of Finance has done, and I'd like to congratulate him for that, for his courage, for his steadfast attitude, standing tall in the face of all that are inventing stories in order to justify their lies. When I was not here, I heard the Honorable Leader of the Opposition in his speech also say, and the former Prime Minister come up with another untruth. I shall use the word untruth because a lot of people would say, well, let's be parliamentary. But then one knows the one who does not speak the truth is... I did not say it. So when he goes as far as to say, you remember what he said once upon a time in 2014, that the Honorable Prime Minister Ramgoolam has a private jet. You remember that? And I was so annoyed with the Honorable Prime Minister, and I said, why didn't you ever take me in your private jet? And I'm sure this is what the Honorable Attorney General just said. We're thinking alike. And now what I hear them say, and obviously this was a lie, let me say it, it was a lie. But what do I hear now? That supposedly the Prime Minister is buying a new car, 23 million rupees car. That is also untrue. That is totally untrue. You see, I know for a fact that this is not true, and I say it out loud. The Prime Minister has not, and has not ordered, has not bought, is not driving a new car. On the contrary, he is driving the car that was ordered by his leader, the former Prime Minister, whilst we were in the midst of difficulties, financial. His leader had ordered cars worth 23 million. So maybe he should go back to his leader, who also was spreading the false lies. Mr. Speaker, I will, during my speech, talk about, obviously, my ministry. But let me, before I go to my ministry, I'm not someone who is as well versed in matters of economics. But at least mathematics, I've tried to do some calculations. So, what I've seen here from all information I have is, for the old age pension, more than 25% of the national budget expenditure goes towards the old age pension. And from what I've seen as well in the calculation, for social protection, we have approximately 34%. 34% of the national expenditure goes towards social protection. But those figures which I'm going to quote right now is of importance. Because of the number of right now the people out there, they will want to know, why are we in such a difficult situation? And let me put it very simply, in layman's terms. Today, we are spending in Mauritius 4.6%. Sorry, 8% of our national budget goes to education. 8%. Okay? Honorable Minister of Education looking at me. But in Singapore, 18% is spent of the national budget there is spent on education. 8% in Mauritius, 18% in Singapore. And in South Africa, our neighbor, 20.9% is spent on education. And let me look at the Honorable Minister of Health. In Mauritius, we're spending 7% on health of our national budget. 7%. And in Singapore, it's almost 21% on national health, public health. In South Africa, it's almost double our figure, 14%. And the reason we are in a situation of this nature today is because there is no fiscal space. Can you imagine, from my figures, and I hope the Honourable Minister of Finance and the Honourable Junior Minister will correct me if I'm wrong, and apologies if I'm wrong, I am my calculations show that approximately 10 to 12% is what we have of the national budget is what is used for debt servicing. So this is enormous. So today, we are in a situation because of the mismanagement, because we have to look for the guilty parties. We have to find who they are, and the people have to know who the guilty ones are. And each time I show my hand towards this empty bench of the opposition, and there again, they do not even deserve the salary they have at the end of this month. You want to know about waste? Where are they?
Yes, part-time opposition.
Well, and that, today, what I say is that the waste that our country has become, the barren land that we have come, as far as economics is concerned, the economy is concerned, is their fault. And I will explain to it before I go into the details of my ministry. I wanted to talk about the ministry first, but allow me, because I think it's important to go straight to the issue at hand. And it is what these people have done to this country. Let's look at this. Mr. Dave Bikari, senior advisor to the Prime Minister Pravin Jagnnath. He had a salary of 119,500 rupees monthly. And added to that was monthly remuneration of 35,000 as vice chairperson of the Gambling Regulatory Authority. And he had an extra duty allowance as vice chairperson of the GRA for 25,000 rupees. And at the same time, whilst the country was going through serious difficulties of COVID time, that was the time, he was le président des conseils d'administration de Mauritius Duty Free Paradise, Rodrigues Duty Free Paradise, Airport of Rodrigues, Pointe Coton Resorts Hotel Company Limited, and a board director of Metro Express. All this, I say again, whilst we were suffering financially. So while people were dying, while they were fleecing the people, let's not molnupiravir, all the pack and blister scandal, the billions that were being fleeced from the taxpayers, les milliards qui ont été volés pendant que les gens mouraient du Covid, le bon gestionnaire qui était le Premier ministre Jagnnath, voilà ce qu'il faisait dans le dos du peuple. And then today, he has the goal to come and give us lessons with the absent leader of the opposition with his little partner. And not forget that. Today, as Minister of Housing and Land, I end up being told and briefed by the National Housing NHDC and the NSLD. What do we end up with? We end up with claims from companies. Companies, contractors were sending us claims amounting to now, what are they for? Groundbreaking ceremony, stone laying foundation, events organized for Mr. Obigadou, former DPM, to come to the sites, for him to have his photograph taken, for Mr. Jagnnath to come and his ministers have their photo opportunity. 32 million rupees of claim for the publicity for the government then. Et là aussi, ils n'ont livré pas plus de 50 maisons. Et quand je dis 50, je suis généreux. Ils ont oublié qu'il fallait qu'on ait des toilettes qui fonctionnent. Ils ont oublié qu'il fallait des drains. Ils ont oublié qu'il fallait qu'on fasse des travaux off-site aussi pour s'assurer que les sites ne soient pas inondés en période de pluie. Ils ont tout oublié. Mais ce qui importait à M. Obigadou, l'ancien Deputy Prime Minister, c'est de s'assurer qu'il faisait plaisir à la cuisine. Et qu'il avait ses photos dans la presse. Et que tout le monde savait, voilà, il travaillait. Et quand il est entré, on se souvient de lui, il était à la place de M. Lobin. It's not a very good place there, be very careful. And I don't know what you're feeling there, but you know, it's ejectable. And then you have this a lot of files, he came in, you know, and yeah? So this is what he was doing. And what was Mr. Jairaj Sonu, who was the group CEO of NHDC and SLD, earning? He was earning 501,000 rupees monthly. 501,000 rupees monthly. And you think that's all? Oh, no. So the former Deputy Prime Minister approved that salary, and the breakdown was 400,000 rupees in salary, entertainment allowance. I wish I could entertain him now. Free. 15,000. Driver's allowance, 15,000. Traveling and fuel, 40,000. Cash in lieu of company car, 31,500. Benefits, plus 25% gratuity at the end of 12 months. 20 days annual leave, 21 days sick leave, and possibility of encashment if not taken. Mobile phone allowance. 2 business class tickets, aller-retour Maurice-Londres annually. And those people are going to come and give us lessons today. And now I say to the people, tous ceux qui sont aujourd'hui, on vous écoute, on entend vos craintes, on entend la frayeur, on entend ce que vous dites sur les pensions et les prestations sociales, on vous entend. Mais il faut chercher ceux qui sont coupables. Nous, on est là simplement pour s'assurer, pour protéger the pension that people have to get. If we are not to act, if the Prime Minister does not act, even those whom we say should get will not get a penny. On est là pour s'assurer que ceux qui obtiennent leur pension, même ceux qui ont obtenu leur pension de vieillesse à l'âge de 60 ans, guerre, si le Premier ministre et le ministre des Finances n'agit pas, il ne prend pas des actions décisives, courageuses, même eux, ils n'auront rien à la fin du mois. So in order to protect the existing pension, we have to act. In order to wipe the mess, we have to act. In order to protect this country, we have to act. We choose the difficult path. We do not choose the path that is easy, because the easy path leads to damnation. The easy path leads to an échec total for the country, and we do not want this. So, let me, since I'm talking about that, I'll go further. You see, time, I said to the Prime Minister a few minutes ago, before I stood up, time flies. Time goes very fast. I still remember the time when not far ago, the Prime Minister was Anirudh Jagnnath. The Prime Minister threatened to get me arrested, and I was arrested. I was taken before court. I was provisionally charged. I remember those days. I remember those days. I remember the Prime Minister standing before me from beginning to end in the court in Port Louis. I remember the now Attorney General, who was the lawyer who was there. My father, late father, had spoken to him, and he had tried to reassure my father all along. I remember the tears of my father. I remember how he had cried, because for them doing politics was to destroy people. That was their politics, destroy people. And a lot of you were present there with me, and I thank you for that. The time flies, and see how everything changes today. And I thank the Prime Minister for having chosen me to be minister. A very difficult position, very big position, and today to be number 3 of a government, not as an easy task, not an easy task. Time flies, things change. So that's why I have to go back in history. Today we have people giving lessons. I remember Dr. Omir, who was also by our side during those difficult times. I remember you. Thank you. I remember Roshi Badin going for a press conference and saying, oh, well, I don't agree that Shakeel has been arrested. This is wrong. I remember those days. But that same Roshi Badin, I remember him leaning on the column outside at the National Assembly in January 2015, putting his one foot on the column facing the harbor. He was smoking his cigarette, and while he puffed, he said, tell your leader Amgulam that I am going to, and he used a very bad word in Creole, and said he's going to do something not really great with Daoud Rawat. In January of 2015. But he didn't stop there. Because don't forget, he is part and parcel, parce qu'on doit chercher les coupables. Les coupables, c'est le gouvernement MSM depuis 2014 jusqu'à 2024. 10 years. Let's not forget Roshi Badin. My friends talked about this yesterday with Patel Engineering. How about the billions because of their incompetence? Their wish to destroy everything on their passage. The billions that the taxpayers have had to pay in terms of damages and compensation to Patel Engineering, to Betamax. They are the guilty ones. Today, if we find ourselves in such an economic strife, it's because they have culpable on their foreheads. They are the guilty ones. They are the targets. The people must look for them. They should be sought. And then, I'll keep the good one for last. And then we talked about the new company of Marajiva that has changed names. Honorable talk to us. Danya, was it? Diana Vartam Limited. 1.7 billion rupees, 1.7 milliard a été pris This is money belonging to us. This country, MIC, Bank of Mauritius, 1,7 milliards, ça a été pris, pas remboursé encore jusqu'à l'heure. And they go into voluntary administration. There's only one reason they try to go into voluntary administration, is to run away from their responsibility and the liability. That is the reason, because they want them as directors not to be responsible personally. That is the reason. So today, you take money, you obtain the money, and you take approximately 400 million from the State Bank of Mauritius. More than 2 billion rupees. You look for the guilty ones. I say again, they are the guilty ones. They put us before a fait accompli while having lied about the figures, lied about the truth, hidden the truth. What can we do but apart from now come and sort out the mess and make sure that we don't go straight into the wall? Because we're close to that, close to it. But then I saw someone else popping his head out. Mr. Padachi, the former Minister of Finance. This one is a story that I'd like to take my time to tell you. Now, this is a very interesting story. And it goes as follows. There is a plot of land in Rochebrune. Okay? We follow? Okay. So that land in Rochebrune is called, it's a morcellement called Mount Pleasant morcellement. Huh? Next to morcellement Mount Pleasant, where Honorable Padachi has his property, and that property faces a beautiful green forest of many acres, 665 acres. That land once upon a time belonged to Medine. Okay? And Medine started the process of having a morcellement there on this plot of land, which was 63 acres, just in front of the property where Mr. Padachi was. Okay? And I'm saying this pour que la population puisse savoir what type of person today comes to pretend to be cleaner than clean. And they are the ones to take the moral high ground to give us lessons. I want the population to know what he did. He comes up with an amendment to the law. They apply for conversion, first of all. Medine, they obtain their conversion. The process was to do a morcellement. They apply for an EIA. They get the EIA. Now, the former Minister of Finance sees, my God, they're going to come and build next to me. My property. They're going to be there, and they're going to have people living in front of me. My view is going to go. The green space is going to disappear. Without consulting anyone at the Ministry of Housing and Land, without consultation. Now, he decides to amend the law. He decides to amend the law last year, July 2024. And the Morcellement Act through Section 56 of the Finance Miscellaneous Provisions Bill of 2024. And what does he do? He says that you have to have a green forest dedicated within any morcellement development. So look at the stratagem, the strategy. Let me use my position as Minister of Finance pour protéger mon intérêt, son intérêt à lui, se servir de sa position comme ministre, sans consultation au préalable avec les officiers ou même le DPM, qui était simplement qu'un suiveur. He had no colonne vertébrale. But he spoke well. Nothing more. Then he accepted all of it. No consultation. Amend Morcellement Act in order to protect his view. But in 2021, Medine writes to the MIC and says, I need to raise capital, I have land for sale. That land was proposed to the MIC in 2021. They said no. But in 2024, that minister, while he was Minister of Finance, and I don't believe in coincidences, not only does he amend the law, but he gets them to write, he gets MIC to contact Medine and said, we are interested in that plot of land. And bizarre, a land that was valued at approximately 600 million in 2021 by Medin themselves was bought by the MIC while Mr. Padachi was Minister of Finance, the very land where his view was going to be blocked, the very land where the Mo Salman was going to be carried out there, built. It was sold for 875 million rupees. So he paid himself the most expensive garden in the world. A garden worth 875 million to ensure that there was no construction, no more Selma there next to him. And the agreement that the Medin had with the person, the company going to do the Mo Selma, was brought to an end purely and simply. The documents are in my possession, and I can confirm that I will be communicating it to the Honorable Prime Minister, because this is unacceptable. And when I look at the resolution of Medin, it says, and it says here, an interest has been received from the MIC in May 2024. Not them contacting the MIC. MIC contacts them. We are interested for a Rochebrune site for a potential agri-tech. Check out the words, agri-tech project. Still nothing. Still nothing. And today, there is worse than that. There is worse than that. I have the map of where his land is. I have the map. Because next to it, there's worse now. I'm going to tell you why. There is a property there built by the NSLD. Okay? On Rochebrune Avenue. Okay? The entry and exit onto that property built by NSLD was on Rochebrune Avenue. But the problem is that road leading Rochebrune Avenue also led to his residence or to his property. And he did not want people from NSLD to use that same road as his. So what does he do? He carries out site visits there, walks with people from Ministry of Housing and Land, shows them and says that they have to stop that. So what he does, he forces the Ministry of Housing and Land, the NSLD, to spend money by building a new road altogether for the inhabitants of the NSLD, not to pollute his environment. You see, what is shocking, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, is that this is someone who wears Savat Dodo slippers. But those slippers must be worth the hell of a lot, at least because the arrogance that this person has shown for the people of the NSLD there, you know what? There is land belonging to the state more there. Now that the MIC owns the land, I'm going to maybe ask the Ministry of Finance and the MIC to give it to me for another social housing project as his neighbors. Because what is this? You mean to say that people have no right to come and live there? You have to, and what did they spend? I have the figures. Just to move the road and for them not to use the road he uses. They blocked the road at one point during construction with bollards illegally, and more than 36 million rupees spent on a new road altogether by NSLD. And who has to pocket that? Who has to pay for it? Taxpayers. Alors si les gens doivent commencer à comprendre pourquoi alors on se retrouve dans cette situation, c'est précisément, c'est parce qu'on a eu des dirigeants qui n'ont pas dirigé, mais ont vécu comme des gargantuas qui ne peuvent même pas digérer. On ne peut pas diriger, je ne peux pas digérer ce qu'ils ont fait. Ils ont tout bouffé. Ils ont tout avalé. Ils ont pris ce qui n'était pas à eux. Imaginez maintenant, Monsieur le Vice-président, si quelqu'un peut se servir de sa position à la tête de l'État pour pouvoir servir l'argent qui ne lui appartient pas pour influencer l'achat à 875 millions, mais ce là ressemble étrangement au prêt que la famille de l'ancien Premier ministre eux-mêmes ont obtenu à travers la State Bank et la MIC. So imagine now, where do we start? Where do we start putting order? But in the meantime, the Honorable Prime Minister has had to face the music. because it is not something that he wrote, it is not something he planned. We expect as an opposition to come ici à l'Assemblée nationale, quand on gagne les élections, on s'attend que les chiffres sont les chiffres vrais. On ne s'attend pas à ce que le gouvernement sortant va nous mentir à propos des chiffres, à propos des statistiques. We don't expect that. So this is the truth. So, Mr. Speaker, now at the level of the NHDC, let me talk about the NHDC now. I've explained to you what it was, and I've had to put order there. But before I go to the NHDC, let me say that at the level of my ministry, there is 1.9 billion rupees that is owed in terms of arrears by those who are on campement sites and industrial sites, industrial leases. 1,997,726 and 491 owed. Why? Because the previous government had amended the law in order to make it possible for people who did not want to pay, en guillemets, or had difficulties, plutôt en guillemets, during COVID time, to ask for time to pay and delaying tactic not to pay. And this is something that the law must be reviewed. We cannot continue having people on state land owing money in terms of leases, but at the same time making money, declaring dividends, and enjoying the fruits of the Republic, the land of the Republic. We can't do that. So I must say that we have tackled this and people have started to understand. Companies have started to understand that we are not joking with this. They will pay and are paying. Now, with regards to the two pieces of legislation, which is the Town and Country Planning Act of 1954 and the partly proclaimed Planning and Development Act of 2004, there is the need, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, to have a consolidated and modern legal framework for land use planning that would support government's commitment to modernizing the legal frameworks to manage land resources more efficiently. Now, we have asked and we have obtained consultancy services in view of drafting a consolidated and modern legal framework for land use planning in Mauritius, and we have obtained some funds to start the process from this particular budget. We have also the National Land Development Strategy. At our meeting on the 23rd of December 2022, the government had decided to incorporate the recommendations made in the report, Master Plan of the Land Drainage Authority. And we could not, in the absence of the input from the LDA, which had refused to put its input. It was hiding when we were not in government, all its data. And we could not, therefore, finalize this document, this process, the NDS, and we will be having a meeting in the forthcoming 2 weeks in order to finalize this, and a meeting will be scheduled with the LDA in order for to give their views. Pending and for government, it will be sent to cabinet for approval. Now, with regards to that, there is also the new urban and rural outline schemes. Once the NDS is approved, a new outline planning scheme, which serves as a key instrument for spatial and land use planning, will be developed. The services of a consultant will be required for the preparation of the outline planning scheme to address contemporary challenges, including urbanization pressures, socioeconomic demands, environmental degradation, and climate change. We have also, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, the Morcellement Act of 1990. It dates back to quite a long time now and needs to be revisited and to be more responsive to today's reality and be realigned with the current online application process so as to ease and enable a smooth, efficient, faster, timely application process. This is our objective. Now, with regards to our housing strategy, we have basically come up with the idea, following discussions with the Ministry of Finance, there is the need to have a proper housing strategy. And why do I say that? You will note that in the budget there is a proposal to increase the threshold from 40,000 to 48,000. Now, 40,000 to 48,000 is precisely because of recent increases that people have obtained, and they find themselves after waiting for 10 years, 15 years. And I can say for a fact that those lists of beneficiaries were once upon a time, when we were not there, being concocted because the kitchen was sending instructions who had to get houses, who did not have to get houses. Il y a ceux qui attendent depuis 15 ans et qui n'obtiennent pas les maisons. Et je dois le dire que this is over. Right now, we concentrate on justice, fairness, those who have applied, those who are in urgent situations. We are endeavoring to do that. We have 52,000 people waiting for houses. This is not a small figure. So with the 8,000 that they have only delivered 40. As I said less than 50, but in fact the real figure is 40. So we have a huge backlog. And those people that require houses, a lot of them are within the bracket of 0 to 48,000, but a lot of them are also above 48,000, and they don't have enough earnings in order to be able to afford a house from the private sector, and are not poor enough to be able to be on the list of SLD and HDC houses. So they are in an income trap. So what we are doing, therefore, I have consulted with the United Nations Habitat. I have consulted with the OECD, and we are taking on board a consultant for a new housing strategy. And the only way forward, clearly, is to address, in the moment of lack of finance, parce qu'ils ont tout dilapidé. On ne peut pas s'endetter, on ne doit certainement pas s'endetter davantage. Alors, what I am proposing to the NHDC and NSLD is to work on the possibility of a public-private partnership. When you have a PPP in order to build social houses, not only for those who are at the maximum 48,000 rupees, but also for the lower middle income. And then we can go for cross-subsidization. And I must say that I spoke to my honorable friend, Shakeel Mogamed, who was once upon a time in the NHDC, and he is the one of them, when we were in the opposition, who talked about how it was important to cross-subsidize. And this is something which at one point he was unfairly criticized for. But this is what has to be done. Now, the plan we have is to build. We need 51,000 houses. We need to be able to put en chantier at least 10,000 houses. We need to be able to do that. But with a proper PPP, ensuring that all our procurement legislation is followed, ensuring that all is done in line with the law, with a complete transparency, not as it used to be done at the NSLD by when they were in power. So our objective.
Minister, you got 5 minutes.
Yes, 5 minutes. So, in regards to that, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think it is important for me to be able to add the following. I always said that the government is a government that wants transparency. And I beg, because of what I've said, and in line with what I said, I beg to table the details, up-to-date details of NSLD and the up-to-date details of the NSLD for houses as to the dates of completion. So from this document which I'm tabling, it is clear, and for the NHDC as well, I beg to table updated figure for all the NHDC development and all the dates. Since time is restricted, I will not be able to get all the dates, but everything is there. When they will be ready, exactly what problems we've been having. I've hidden nothing. We're not in the business of hiding. And this is what we've done. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, let me like to conclude this time on the following. We have a land bank. We will look into the possibility of building those houses. Now that I've made this public, I will also put this information I'll ask the GIS to do it. I will also put it on my social media page, and it will be given to the press. We want to be transparent about every single project. Now, I would like to add the following in conclusion. You know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, no one chooses voluntarily when you're in politics. You don't walk into a situation voluntarily and say, let me do something to make myself unpopular. We don't do that. What you do is when you're placed in a situation where you have to think about the country, it is very easy to fall into the trap to think about your own survival. That's the easy way out. And if you choose that, then you will have short-term gain. But the country will be totally found in a disastrous situation. So I must say is the following. When, for instance, my honorable friend Bagwan talked about the Île-aux-Bénitiers, on a smaller scale, when I saw the situation there, when it was brought to my attention by Cabinet, by the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, by the Honorable Minister of Environment, the Junior Minister Fabrice David as well was there, Richard Duval, Arvin Boulel. When they brought this to my attention, I decided that I followed what Cabinet had decided, clean it up. But the reason we wanted to clean it up was for what? For it to be in a better state. In whose interest? For the posterity, for children to come, and for those who were trading there. What was not said? I was insulted, élément communal. I was told that supposedly I wanted to give it to private operators. I was told supposedly I was going to bring people from my constituency to work there. But this did not deter us from what we believed was right. And today, when we look at Île-aux-Bénitiers, it shows that when we put our minds together to do something for the good of the people, we can succeed. So I'd like, in the last 30 seconds that's left, if I may, say that I have not forgotten those of my constituency. I thank them for their confiance that they have shown in me. 4th time in a row elected in constituency number 3. And it is my 5th mandate. I must say that I was astounded to see that in my constituency, no single house has been built by the NHDC, by the MSM government or NSLD. Not a single house. And I'm pleased to announce that we have gone to Beji-Tombo, that Beji-Tombo now forms part of our constituency. We have land there that was just laying idle. We have put up a project there. The members of parliament, Honorable Juman and Honorable Minister Amiamia, together with myself and officers of the NHDC, we have gone there. We have already started a project for constituency number 3, and we are providing houses. The first place is in Beji-Tombo. That is a promise we made during the campaign, and we're keeping that promise. Second place, we're going to keep the promise. Because why I'm concentrating on that constituency, first reason, because it's mine. And secondly, because nothing was done there for 10 years. And number 2 as well, nothing was done for 10 years. So, no, for you it's being done. For you it's being done. So, what I can tell you is that land has been found. Que ce soit route militaire, we're trying to explore the possibility of constructing. Que ce soit la route abattoir, we're exploring the possibility to build. Que ce soit aussi à Rochebois, where there is the plan to eventually move the transfer station, hopefully, and we will have space there in order to build. So we will not forget those who have been ignored for the past 10 years. So let me conclude now, really, and say, I'm very proud to be learning at all ages. You learn at all ages. L'instinct te demande de choisir la facilité. Et c'est pas évident de choisir the hard way when you know it's for the good of the country. And when you are next to the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, and colleagues from Cabinet, when you make a decision in the interest of the people, we know that the country will come out of it greater. And let us all realize one thing, that those people who have done us harm, those people who have destroyed the economy, those people who have filled their pockets with money not belonging to them, we will hunt them down. They will have to pay. Justice will prevail. Let us not forget that. We will ensure that you are not forgotten and that you do not hide under a stone or a hole somewhere. We will remove the stone. We will dig you up, and you will have to pay the consequences of the crime that you have done to this country. Thank you very much.